Hey guys, how you doing today? It's Barb with Gossip Gals. Today I am doing a story on euthanasia or assisted suicide. So if you think that's going to trigger you in any way, you might want to skedaddle, but otherwise I'm getting right into it. So Romy had set a date to die, June 19th, 2023. After more than a decade of struggling with unresolved childhood trauma and eating disorder and clinical depression, she had decided enough was enough. And under Dutch-assisted dying laws, which are among the most permissive in the world, which she could do something about it. Romy, whose surname has been withheld, first applied to the Euthanasia Expertise Center, a mobile euthanasia clinic headquartered in The Hague when she was 18 years old, and 4 years later, at 22 years old, she was granted permission for euthanasia by lethal injection. She said, "My life is not a life, it is mostly survival. I am still afraid, but I am more afraid of the life I have to lead than of death." On that summer's day last year, Romy lay on her hospice bed while the attendant psychiatrist explained what would happen. The first injection numbs your vein. The second injection will stop your breathing. After that, you will die quickly. To comply with the law on euthanasia, doctors are required to ask one final time whether the patient is sure they want to die. Suddenly, Romy realized the answer was no. Her heart was pounding, and she started to cry. And in that moment, she changed her mind. Romy messaged her friends and family, who she had said goodbye to just hours earlier. The message said, "Dear all, I have changed my mind at the last minute and will not die today. Sorry for the panic I may have caused you." Romy's story of a last-minute change of heart has made headlines the very week an assisted dying bill has been tabled in the British Parliament. The Netherlands is one of 3 countries where assisted dying is legal for mental as well as physical illness. Euthanasia, where a doctor administers a lethal medication, and assisted dying is where the patient administers it themselves, were formally legalized for psychological suffering as well as unbearable physical suffering in the Netherlands in 2002. Like stories of the growing number of other young people in the Netherlands who have chosen an assisted death due to mental illness, many of them suicidal young women with eating disorders, depression, or borderline personality disorder. Romy's is full of details. She had her nails painted red for the occasion, she had bought a dress for her funeral, and she joked about the coffin and had even seen it on the day she was supposed to die, when she bumped into the hearse that would take her away. Her motto, "Life Sucks," was printed on t-shirts for people to wear the day she died. She chose to wear a white dress herself. She had the original date she chose for her death before it was delayed by 24 hours, June 18th, tattooed on her back of her neck. As the UK grapples with whether to legalize assisted dying, the Netherlands serves as a troubling premonition, and Romy's story should be taken as a cautionary tale. Although the law on assisted dying has not itself changed in the 22 years since it was legalized, the application of it has stretched and slackened to include those with depression but no physical health issues, children and young people aged under 18, and now potentially healthy people aged over 75 who simply feel their lives are complete. The case highlights the dangers to the UK if assisted dying becomes law. Anyone can bring themselves to terminal illness through stopping eating and drinking, and we know of at least 60 people, mostly young women, who have died by either euthanasia or assisted suicide who were suffering only from anorexia. In the current UK bill, there is no provision to stop this, but I don't think any bill that allows assisted dying of any form can prevent expansion, because if death is defined as medical treatment, how can you deny it to the people who are suffering? The only real safeguard is not legalizing it in the first place. There are good evidence-based reasons to think that young people with executive functions that are still developing are not able to make well-considered decisions to end their lives. Romy was abused as a child between the ages of 7 and 15. 3 years later, upon reaching adulthood, she registered with the Euthanasia Expertise Center, which until recently handled the majority of euthanasia cases for mental illness. It was established in 2012 to assist and advise doctors, many of whom were uneasy about facilitating euthanasia for patients with mental illness, despite them fulfilling the legal criteria. In a research paper, there was a psychiatrist who found that over the course of the average 2-year waiting period, a lot of applicants changed their mind. However, should a patient find a willing psychiatrist, the entire process from application to lethal injection can take place in just 6 weeks. The term assisted dying covers both assisted suicide and voluntary euthanasia. Assisted suicide means to end your own life with the help of a doctor, and euthanasia requires someone else to end your life with your consent, a doctor administering the drugs. Cases of euthanasia for psychological suffering have been rising ever since it was legalized in the Netherlands, slowly and then steadily and then sharply. The EE also takes direct referrals from patients who have been denied euthanasia by their psychiatrist or their GP. Perhaps as a result, it has seen an increase in inquiries from young people. In 2010, only 4 cases were recorded. In 2019, there were 68 cases. And by 2023, this had risen sharply to 138. A psychiatrist who has been treating patients who request euthanasia for mental health conditions in the Netherlands since 2016 is familiar with Romy's case, but did not treat her directly. I have never heard of someone retracting that late. Early on in the process, it happens often. Of 100 people who ask for euthanasia, only 10 will get euthanized. A lot of them find a way to live, and others commit suicide. Framed like that, a painless end for those few patients who determine to end their lives, regardless, sounds humane, and this is an argument that has been adopted by the pro-euthanasia lobby in other countries, including the UK. This psychiatrist has been criticized by peers in the psychiatric profession for making access to euthanasia easier, especially for young people with mental health conditions, by presenting it as an option in the first place. He once stated, "I am not trained to make people feel better. I am trained to alleviate suffering that can also include untimely euthanasia." Ultimately, euthanasia. Ultimately. Euthanasia in young adults receives so much positive attention in the media, it is almost no exaggeration to say it is being actively promoted as a treatment option in psychiatry when it should be an absolute last option once all treatments have failed. He previously admitted to having doubts about his own practice. He said, "Sometimes I think, did we open Pandora's box? It sometimes frightens me that 99% of the world will condemn what I'm doing." And after Romy renounced her decision to die, she felt her friends and family struggled to understand and distanced themselves from her. She felt abandoned. She said, "When I didn't die, everyone was angry or they went away on vacation. Now I have the feeling that I have to die because otherwise everyone is so irritated that I won't do it. I've been the girl who wants to die my whole life. But who am I without my death wish?" Later that year, as an inpatient in a psychiatric hospital, she reapplied for euthanasia, but withdrew her second request a week later. For a while, things improved, and Romy was living independently, playing sports and visiting family. Earlier this year, she relapsed once again, but is now in assisted living and completing a college diploma. She says the normal parts of life, such as paying rent, give her hope. She thinks about death every day, but is, for the first time, optimistic for her future. I don't regret the journey because I have been so close to death. I see life as something valuable. It won't always go well, but I now know there is light at the end of the tunnel. I survived death, so I will survive life too. Guys, leave your thoughts, comments, questions down below for me. I'd like to hear what you think about the subject. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It's a brand new channel, and by subscribing would really help me out. Hit that thumbs up button and the notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video. And until next time, guys, peace.